Look around you. Right now, in this moment, some people will be millionaires within the next 3 years. There are people in this room who will start a company that changes an industry. People are listening to my voice who will overcome obstacles that seem insurmountable today, and some people will stay exactly where they are. What makes the difference for those who succeed? Talent? Luck? Family connections? No. The difference is a single, powerful, often overlooked mental shift. The difference is this: success comes to those who become success conscious. Let me make it clear to you. For decades, psychologists and high-performance coaches have studied what separates top performers from the rest. One finding stands above all others. Your outer world reflects your inner world. What you hold in your consciousness, day in, day out, will eventually materialize in your reality. This is not magic. It's not the secret dressed up in new clothes. It's neuroplasticity. It's reticular activation. It's the simple truth that you move toward what you constantly think about. If you are failure conscious, if you wake up worrying about bills, replaying past mistakes, expecting things to go wrong, your brain will filter every opportunity through that lens. You will see risks where others see rewards. You will hesitate when others act. You will interpret a rejection as a verdict on your worth, not as a stepping stone. But if you become success conscious, something shifts. You start noticing opportunities that were always there. You start asking different questions, not why me, but what can I learn? Not what if I fail, but what if I succeed? Success consciousness is not arrogance. It is not delusion. It is a disciplined way of seeing the world. It is the quiet, unshakable belief that you are capable of growth, that setbacks are temporary, and that your current circumstances do not define your future potential. And here is the proof. Let me take you through 3 real-life examples of people who became success-conscious before the world called them successful. Imagine you are a 27-year-old woman. You've been selling fax machines door to door for 7 years. You have no background in fashion, no business degree, no manufacturing connections. You have an idea. Cut the feet off your pantyhose to create a smoother silhouette under white pants. Most people would have that idea, laugh, and go back to selling fax machines. But Sarah Blakely became success conscious. She didn't wait for permission. She didn't wait for a sign from the universe. She took $5,000 of her life savings, every penny she had, and moved to Atlanta. She spent 2 years researching hosiery patents alone in her apartment. She visited textile mills in North Carolina where men in suits laughed at her.
One factory owner said, "Honey, that will never work."
Here's where success consciousness kicks in. Blakely did not internalize their doubt. She did not replay their words in her head at night and wondered if she was a fraud. Instead, she thought, "They don't see what I see." Yet, she persisted. She wrote her own patent. She designed her own packaging. When no department store would stock Spanx, she demonstrated the product herself in the Neiman Marcus hosiery section. She stood there, in the aisle, showing strangers how to cut the feet off pantyhose. That is not normal behavior. That is success consciousness in motion. Today, Sarah Blakely is a self-made billionaire. Spanx is a global brand. And when asked how she did it, she doesn't talk about luck. She says, "Don't let what you don't know scare you, because what you don't know is usually what ends up being your competitive advantage." She became success conscious before she had a single dollar of revenue. She trained her mind to see inevitability where others saw impossibility. And that is the pattern we see repeatedly.
Example 2. Howard Schultz. Here's another story. It's 1982. A young man named Howard Schultz is working as a sales manager for a kitchenware company in New York. He notices that a small coffee bean retailer in Seattle, Starbucks, keeps ordering an unusually high number of drip coffee makers. He flies to Seattle out of curiosity. He walks into the first Starbucks store, and he is transformed. He later writes, "I had never experienced anything like it. The romance, the aroma, the sense of connection. At that time, Starbucks only sold coffee beans and equipment. They didn't sell brewed coffee. Schultz joins them as head of marketing. A year later, he travels to Italy for a trade show. In Milan, he discovers espresso bars, places where people gather, talk, laugh, and drink coffee socially. He sees a community built around a simple beverage. He rushes back to Seattle and pitches the founders, turns Starbucks into a chain of Italian-style coffee houses. They reject him. Flat out, no, not interested. We sell beans, not drinks. Most people would accept that answer. They would say, well, I tried. The experts said no. But Howard Schultz became success conscious. He didn't attach his identity to their rejection. He believed in the vision so deeply that he left Starbucks. He started his own coffee chain, Il Giornale. Within 2 years, Il Giornale was thriving. And then, listen to this, the original Starbucks founders came to him. They were struggling. They offered to sell him the company. Schultz raised $3.8 million in 6 months, no easy feat in the 1980s, and bought Starbucks for $3.7 million. He then merged his vision with their brand. The rest is history. 38,000 stores, 85 countries, a company that changed how the world drinks coffee. Schultz later said, "I've always believed that if you dream something and you put it in your mind, you can achieve it. But you have to be willing to be misunderstood for a long time. That is success consciousness. It is the ability to be rejected, doubted, ignored, and still see the future so clearly that you act as if it has already arrived." Schultz had no assurance that Italy's coffee culture would translate to America. He had no guarantee. He had only consciousness. And that was enough. Example 3. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the people's president. Now let me take you to a different kind of success. A small island town called Ramaswaram is in South India. A boy is born into a low-income family. His father is a boat owner who ferries Hindu pilgrims. The boy delivers newspapers after school to help pay for his education. His name is Avul Pakir Jainulabdin Abdul Kalam. Most people from his circumstances would have set their sights low, become a clerk, maybe a teacher, survive. But young Kalam became success conscious. He read everything he could get his hands on. He developed a burning curiosity for flight and physics. He studied aerospace engineering at the Madras Institute of Technology. He was not the smartest student in the room, but he was the most determined.
Kalam, if you don't finish your project on time, you will lose your scholarship and your career.
Kalam worked 18 hours a day. He slept on the lab floor. He finished the project. He joined India's space program at a time when India was considered a developing backwater. Western nations laughed at India's satellite launch vehicles. Kalam became the chief of the SLV-3 project, India's first attempt to launch a satellite into orbit. The first test failed spectacularly. The rocket plunged into the Bay of Bengal. Journalists called it a national embarrassment. Politicians demanded that the project be shut down. What did Kalam do? He did not blame his team. He did not make excuses. He analyzed the data for months. He found the technical flaw. And then he said something extraordinary to his team.
We have to prove we are better than our failure. Failure is a teacher. If you can't learn from failure, you cannot succeed.
On July 18, 1980, the SLV-3 launched successfully. India entered the space age. Kalam went on to become the leader of India's nuclear weapons tests, a scientific advisor to the government, and ultimately the 11th president of India, the people's president, beloved by millions. A poor boy from a small island, a newspaper delivery boy who became a rocket scientist, then the president. Then it became a symbol of hope for 1 billion people. How? Success consciousness. He didn't wait for the world to tell him he was worthy. He became worthy inside his own mind first. So now you've heard the stories. Sarah Blakely, Howard Schultz, Dr. Kalam. Different countries, different industries, different decades. One common thread: Each of them became success conscious before the external results appeared. But how do you do that? How do you rewire your mind when your bank account is empty, when your family doubts you, when you failed not once but 10 times? Let me give you 3 practical, actionable steps. Number 1. Control your diet. You cannot become success conscious if you spend 2 hours a day watching news that feeds fear, scrolling social media that breeds comparison, or listening to people who have given up on their own dreams. Your mind is a garden. What you plant grows. Plant seeds of possibility. Read biographies of successful people. Listen to podcasts that challenge you. Surround yourself, even if only virtually, with those who expect more from life. Number 2, reframe failure as data. The failure-conscious person says, "I failed, so I am a failure." The success-conscious person says, "I failed, so I learned what doesn't work. Now I am closer to what does." Every time something goes wrong, ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Not why me, but what now? Number 3, act as if. This is the hardest and most powerful step. You must behave like the person you want to become before you are that person. The actor who wants the lead role rehearses as if they've already been cast. The entrepreneur who wants funding pitches as if the money is already in the bank. The writer who wants a bestseller writes every day as if millions are reading. Action creates consciousness. Consciousness creates results. A study at the University of California found that visualization and mental rehearsal activate the same neural pathways as physical practice. Your brain cannot fully distinguish between a vividly imagined action and a real one. That means when you consistently imagine yourself succeeding, when you rehearse success in your mind, you are literally building the neural architecture for success.
The price of success consciousness. But I must be honest with you. Becoming success conscious is not easy. It requires vigilance because the world will pull you back toward failure consciousness. Your friends will say, "Who do you think you are?" Your family will say, "Be realistic." Your own mind will whisper, "You tried before. It didn't work." Do you know that success consciousness is not a one-time decision? It is a daily battle, a choice, every morning, to believe in your future despite evidence from your past. Sarah Blakely could have stopped after the first factory rejection. Howard Schultz could have accepted the Starbucks founder's no. Dr. Kalam could have quit after the rocket sank. They didn't. Not because they were born different, because they cultivated a different inner dialogue. They became success conscious when no one else believed in them. And then the world caught up. I want you to close your eyes for 15 seconds. Think of one goal you have been afraid to pursue. One dream you have labeled unrealistic. One version of yourself that you have been hidden because you feared judgment. Now see that version. See them standing in front of you. Successful, confident, at peace. They are not a different person. They are you. But you are the one who decided to become success conscious today, not tomorrow. Open your eyes. Success does not come to the lucky. It does not come to the talented alone. It does not come to those who wait for the perfect moment. Success comes to those who become success conscious, not hopeful, not wishful, but conscious, awake, deliberate, starting now. Welcome to the Leadership Conversations, where we build future leaders.